Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another enlightening episode of the podcast. I'm thrilled to have you join us as we explore the profound impact of healthy relationships, the power of setting boundaries, and the essential role of listening to our intuition. So sit back, get comfy, and let's get down to business. This is the Jennifer Kwapis podcast. All right. So if you haven't noticed, and take a look behind me. If you didn't listen to episode 4, you're going to want to catch episode 4 with the interior designer, Kim Sanzik. She gave us awesome tips and tricks on how to style beautiful spaces. And I was so inspired, I did just that. So as you can see behind me, the Jennifer Kwapis podcast got a little facelift. I went and picked some wallpaper for texture and my color palette and put it all together, and I'm happy to present it to you here today. So again, if you didn't catch the last episode 4 with interior designer Kim Sanzik, go back and listen to it because you too can create beautiful spaces just like the one behind me. All right, so I want to touch on just some housekeeping items now that the podcast has been in the world for 4 episodes, a whole month of the podcast. If you watch the podcast via video on YouTube or Spotify, you may notice that I'm not always making eye contact with the camera. And that's simply just because I outline every episode. And so I may be looking down at my computer screen to get the next piece of information I'm trying to deliver. I have total mom brain, and there's no way I can remember everything that I want to deliver out to you guys. So, in the spirit of staying on task and respecting your time, which I so appreciate you being here with me and giving me some of your time, I outline everything so that I stay on task and don't go off topic, just rattling on and on. So, if you notice, I'm not always looking directly into the camera. That is why. It is my mom brain and the way that I can remember all the things I'm trying to say. I also want to explain my persistent attempts for getting your email address. If you've been to my website, you'll notice there's an immediate box that pops up asking for you to put your name and your email address to subscribe to my monthly newsletter. Or perhaps maybe you've been interested in downloading some of the freebies that I've created to go along with some of the content on the podcast. So far, I've put out a daily journal that goes through writing down your goals as if you've already achieved them, while also practicing gratitude. So if you haven't grabbed that freebie, go out and do so. You can do it on my website, or there's links on my social sites. And there's a second one from episode 4 that is a document that goes over all of the design process that Kim shared with us in that episode. And there's a freebie that you can download for that as well. And in order to get the freebie, you'll also notice you need to put in your name and email address. So my persistent attempt to getting your email address is simply because I want you to be a part of my community. So I don't own you on social media, for lack of better terms, right? If social media ceased to exist tomorrow, I would have no way to get in contact with you. So to prevent that, I try to get your email address so that I always have a way to communicate to my community, to you. So that's the driver behind getting an email address. And if I'm being very honest, that is one of my goals that I set for myself this year, is to try and get 100 subscribers to my email list. So the email list is intended just to be able to communicate things out to you, share links or discount codes with various business owners that I may interview on the podcast, and just share my content with you. Any of those freebies that I'm creating, those are going to get emailed out to everyone on my email list as well. So that is why those boxes keep popping up. And don't worry if you've signed up in one place and you're forced to put your email address in again to get another piece of content. It's okay. You're only going to get one email from me. So thank you all so much for everyone that's already on that list. I so appreciate you and your dedication to personal development or just the enjoyment of the content I'm putting out. It really means so much to me. And if you haven't signed up for the email list yet, well, it's not too late. You can go to my website, www.jenniferkwapis.com, and you'll get the pop-up box. You can put your email in there, or you can click in the toolbar at the top that says freebies, and you can download any or all of those freebies that are shared there on that page. So again, huge thank you to everybody that has signed up and everybody that is going to go sign up after hearing this. I so appreciate it. All right. So moving on to today's episode. In today's fast-paced world, we often get caught up in external expectations and noise, which makes us lose touch with that quiet whisper inside of us. That's our intuition. Yet, our intuition plays a crucial role in shaping authentic relationships and establishing boundaries that honor our deepest selves. By tuning into this inner wisdom, we not only enrich our connections with others, but also nurture our own well being. Can you think back to dating or even meeting a new friend and there being red flags? What did you do? Because I can tell you, I vividly remember ignoring them at times. And looking back, I can also tell you that those red flags ended up being the very reason why the relationship ended up failing down the road. So today I'm going to give you tools to understanding healthy relationships and the power of boundaries and listening to your inner voice. How to recognize unhealthy relationships and poor boundaries. And finally, some strategies for building and setting healthy ones. So let's get started. Number one, understanding healthy relationships. Let's first recognize that there are different types of relationships. There's family, friends, romantic, and professional types of relationships. All of these relationship types require things to be defined as healthy. Today, we're going to focus more on family, friends, and romantic types because professional relationships take a different form and require different things to be considered healthy, in my opinion. To define a healthy relationship, I would say there are four main pillars, and those would be trust, communication, mutual respect, and support. Both individuals need to feel supported, valued, and able to maintain their own morals while also contributing to their relationship. In order to understand these things, there needs to be open communication. Now, I'm fairly certain that everyone listening already knows this, and we are all in agreement. So I'm going to take a step further and add what I believe to be the fifth pillar of a healthy relationship. And this one seems to be the hard one, and that's boundaries. So that's why we're going to focus on it today and unpack it. Now, understanding that I recognize in all relationships, there's compromise, right? A willingness to meet in the middle and find a solution. But what if that's not achievable? What then? And that is what I want to talk to you more about today. All right. So moving on, I want to discuss the power of boundaries and listening to that inner voice. So to define boundaries and their importance, boundaries are the limits we set to define what's acceptable in our lives. They protect our personal space, energy, and spirit. Our intuition often signals when these boundaries are being approached or crossed, serving as an internal compass to maintain our well being. Our intuition is that voice inside of us, our Jiminy Cricket, so to speak. My Disney movie lovers will understand that one. I want to stress here that I think that gut feeling or red flags, inner voice, or intuition, whichever one you want to call it, is so important. As parents, we stress to our kids how important it is to listen to that feeling when it speaks to them. But somewhere along the way, it seems like we stop listening to our own inner voice. We start to put priority on appeasing others, even when it makes us uncomfortable. Maybe you try to convince yourself that something doesn't really bother you, so you sacrifice your own values because, well, you value someone else's opinion over your own. Exactly. That doesn't sound right, does it? Because it isn't. This behavior continued will cut your connection with your sense of self and eventually remove access to your own intuition. Think of this. If your best friend repeatedly gave you advice or cautioned you about something and you kept ignoring them, what do you think is going to happen? Right. Eventually, they're going to stop telling you. I think our intuition is our creator's voice inside of us. And for me, that's God. And I certainly don't know more than the good Lord himself. So ignoring his voice, which is intended to keep me safe, tell me truths, protect my morals, evoke emotions, give me direction, or guide me to my purpose, is just simply not in my best interest to ignore. So I think when you put it into that perspective, coupled with how much I want my own children to listen to their intuition, it makes me realize how I want to prioritize my values and opinions over those of other people. All right, so now that we've laid that out on the line, let's define the three types of boundaries that are guided by your intuition. And those three are emotional boundaries, energy boundaries, and time boundaries. And don't worry, we're going to get into each one of them, starting with emotional boundaries. Emotional boundaries is noticing when our conversations or interactions drain us and then taking the steps needed to protect our feelings. To me, these are disagreements we have with people we care about. Anytime someone you love or care about does something that hurts you, disrespects you, or your family, it's so tough and it's very emotional. It's important to digest it and recognize why it hurts you. And it's necessary to have a conversation with the other party to make them aware that you're hurt. But listen to me and listen close. If they don't accept your boundary, and what I mean by boundary is the conversation that you had with them, letting them know that something they said to you was not acceptable, it is not your responsibility to conform. I would rather adjust my life to their absence than adjust my boundaries to their disrespect. And I'm going to say that one again. I would rather adjust my life to their absence than adjust my boundary to their disrespect. Remember, what you tolerate is what you validate. I wish I could sit here and tell you that I haven't experienced this firsthand, but I have, and it was very close to home. Many times I have cried and wanted to just throw my hands up and pretend to be okay with a disagreement just to make things go back to the way they were. But the hard reality is it's never going to go back. When someone hurts you and you have to create a boundary, you can't help but see some hard truths. And if I'm being honest, when I go back and think about it, there were times and things that were said or done, and my intuition threw up those red flags. And again, I ignored them. Maybe if I had addressed them head on right away, things wouldn't have gotten to this point. But unfortunately, in my circumstance, the only way to protect myself was to set an emotional boundary that removed the people that I cared about and loved from my life to honor my values and allow myself to heal. The boundary helped me to stop waiting on the apology and start focusing my energy on what I could control. Number two are your time boundaries. This is recognizing when we need to allocate time for rest, reflection, or personal pursuits. This is the it's okay to say no to things boundary. I'll reference again my New Year's resolution that I have been working on for years now. And it's if it's not a yes, I absolutely want to do that, then it's a no, I'm sorry, I won't be there. You don't create this boundary because you don't love the person or want to spend time with them. You create this boundary to protect your damn sanity. Sometimes life gets crazy and you just can't take another obligation. Or perhaps you have some free time and you want to just relax, read the book, take a long weekend up north, or schedule something to do that's been on your heart or mind, like spend time with a friend or a relative. And in order to be able to do that, you have to say no to something else. It's that simple. This is life. But flip to the other side of that and learn that you can't take the no personal either. If you extend an invite and the person says no, you have to respect their boundary. You have to respect that there's a reason and it's probably not personal as to why someone couldn't make it to your barbecue or to your house or whatever it may be. And I think we all need to work on that. Also, don't immediately try to reschedule with them. Clearly, they're overwhelmed and at the moment uninterested for whatever reason. So just support them and say, okay. So, number three is energy boundaries. And this is being aware of situations or people that negatively affect our energy levels. You guys, I know you can think of someone or something you feel obligated to do right now. As soon as I read that description, you were like, yep, that's my uncle, or it's clothes shopping for me. The thought alone of having to walk around and find clothes, find a dressing room, take my clothes off, and try clothes on repeatedly makes me immediately feel exhausted, sweaty, and drained of everything good in my life. I hate it. And this is why you hear me advertise Stitch Fix, because I found a way to have a good wardrobe and not have to go to the store and hunt for it. My point is, guys, if there's something that takes the wind out of your sails, try to find a way to reduce or eliminate it from your life. Save your energy for things that make the most impact to you. If you hate spending an entire day of your weekend cleaning your house, cut out a cost and hire a house cleaner, or create a schedule that only consumes 20 minutes of each day to clean. If you hate talking to Aunt Sally because she sucks the life out of you, well, can you spend time with Aunt Sally going to the movies instead? This way, the talking is limited and you both get to see a movie you like. Or take Aunt Sally bowling. Do some sort of activity. This way, you can talk and laugh about the game. And maybe she's awesome as long as she isn't constantly complaining about bad drivers or the terrible service she had at McDonald's. I want you to remember boundaries protect personal well being and foster respect. This doesn't happen overnight, but it may never happen if you don't think about various types of relationships, your values, and how you want to spend your precious time. So please communicate your needs, say no, and protect your valuable time. Now that we've discussed the importance of following your intuition and defined types of boundaries, I want to give you some signs to look for in unhealthy relationships and tell you the consequences of not setting or respecting boundaries. So, this takes us to number 3, recognizing unhealthy relationships and poor boundaries. Signs of unhealthy relationships are control, manipulation, lack of respect, and poor communication. If you can identify any of these in your relationships, I want you to think of what boundary it's crossing. Is it emotional? Is it time? Or is it energy? And then formulate a plan to establish a boundary and also how you're going to execute it. Consequences of not setting or respecting boundaries are stress, resentment, and emotional exhaustion. I don't want any of these for you, and neither do the people that love you. Also, don't feel like you have to do all of this alone. Confide in a trusted friend or partner and talk it through. I will caution you, though, that your feelings don't need validation. Your inner voice is God or your creator telling you something. And believe me, that is enough. So if you feel like whomever you are expressing your thoughts to isn't receiving it and understanding where you're coming from, that is okay. Feel free to try again with someone else if you really feel like you need to talk it through ahead of time. Perhaps the person you first spoke to hasn't been in your situation or just has different views or values. Here are some practical tips for fostering healthy relationships. Practice active listening, empathy, and regular check ins with one another. A great way to go about your regular check ins, and you'll thank me later, is I love to choose one person every day that's on my mind and send them a quick message. Just a simple, hey, I was thinking about you. Hope you have an awesome day. It takes no time at all, yet it leaves a huge impact and also makes me feel good that I let them know that I love them and was thinking about them. To all my friends listening, you're going to notice now when you're on the receiving end of my daily love affirmations. Steps to set up and communicate boundaries effectively. I want you to be very clear and assertive when communicating boundaries. Now, obviously, you don't have to use the word boundary when talking to the person. You just need to express what you need or don't need from them in a way that they can understand. Also, be consistent. Do not disregard your boundary and disrespect yourself like that. Common challenges in maintaining these boundaries will consist of guilt, fear of rejection, and boundary violations. Okay, that sounds hilarious when I say it out loud. See, here's a great example of me reading from my episode outline: boundary violations. Oh my gosh. Okay, but for real, I want you to know that all of these feelings and emotions that you're going to go through are normal and healthy, far healthier than allowing others to hurt you. Finally, when building healthy relationships and setting boundaries, I encourage you to take time for self reflection and practice self care. Kick back in a bathtub or schedule a massage and allow yourself to decompress. This is that time boundary we discussed. You have to make time for yourself. No one else is going to carve that time out for you. If you need to communicate that scheduled time with your spouse or significant other, do it. Say, every day at 7 p.m., I need 30 minutes for myself, or even an hour. Use the time to write in a journal, practice some gratitude, do some skincare, go for a walk, whatever it takes. Just please take the time for yourself. You cannot show up for others when you have nothing left to give. If you're like me and always on the lookout for new styles but hate the hassle of shopping, I've got just the thing for you: Stich Fix. Stich Fix is a personal styling service that sends you hand picked clothing and accessories right to your door. Here's how it works: you'll start by filling out a quick quiz about your style preferences on their website or app. It's fun. It helps your stylist get to know your unique fashion preferences, sizes, and even your budget. Next, your personal stylist curates a box of items just for you. And let me tell you, they are spot on. Every piece feels like it was chosen just for me and it fits. You can try everything on in the comfort of your home, keep what you love, and send back what you don't. It's that easy. I've been using Stitch Fix for 3 years now, and it has completely transformed my wardrobe. No more crowded malls or endless scrolling through online stores. Plus, the excitement of receiving a new box and discovering what's inside is like opening a present. Best part, there's something for everyone: men, women, kids, you name it. Whether you need casual wear, workout outfits, or something special for an event, Stitch Fix has got you covered. And hey, if you're not sure about something, their customer service is top notch and is always ready to help. So if you're ready to elevate your style and make shopping a breeze, head over to stitchfix.com or download their app on your phone. Even better, head into the show notes and I'll include a link for $25 off your first order. Enjoy! That concludes our episode. And to recap, let's go over what we talked about today. We first talked about understanding healthy relationships, the power of boundaries and listening to your inner voice, how to recognize unhealthy relationships and poor boundaries, and finally, strategies for building and setting healthy ones. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you found this helpful, and I hope even more that you will practice this. I know that setting boundaries can be challenging, but it is so necessary and so worth it. And if you haven't spoken to your children about that inner voice, their intuition, please do that because it needs to be started from a young age. They need to know that that voice is in them for a reason and it is there to keep them safe. So have those conversations with your kids. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that you will subscribe to the episode if you haven't already, or sign up for my email list, and even leave me some comments on the show episode or on social media. I really would love to hear everybody's feedback on the content that you're consuming, good, bad, or indifferent. It means a lot to me that I'm putting together content that you want to hear and that you find valuable. And if you have any suggestions for an upcoming episode, I'd love to hear those too. Thanks so much for listening in to another episode of the Jennifer Kwapis podcast. Have a great day. Hey guys, it's me again. I just wanted to jump back on and tell you what we have upcoming next week. Please join us for next week's episode when we have Leah Lapinta, the owner of Cold Sweat, joining us to talk all about the health benefits of both cold plunge, saunas, and infrared lighting. So be sure to tune in and join us and get all of the information that she has to share.